Hey YouTube world, what's going on? Mark here from TST Industries, back in the garage with another exciting video. And as you can see beside me, I have a 2023 Honda XR150L. And in today's video, I will be guiding you through the installation process of installing our TST LED pod turn signals on the rear of this bike. Now it is important to note, and I do just want to make a few key things very clear. When you remove your OEM turn signals, the signal mounts that they are attached to are welded to the frame. So whether you run signals or not on those mounts, the mounts will always be present. Please keep that in mind. Additionally, just like our front turn signal offering, the rears on this bike will be completely plug and play with no additional converters or mounts needed. They will bolt right onto the OEM signal mounts and plug directly into the OEM harness without any issues. And the very last thing that I do want to make a note of is that in this video, I will be installing our BL6 sequential turn signals, but this installation process can be followed and used for any of our TST LED pod turn signals and even our flush mounts if you wanted something even more flush and close to the OEM signal mounts. Now this installation process is pretty straightforward. However, there is a ton of bodywork and panels that we need to remove first in order to get to that. So let's go ahead and jump right in and begin this installation process. To begin this installation process, we will start by removing this side panel on this side. It is important to note that this is mirrored on the other side, so the same exact steps will be followed on the clutch lever side. In order to remove this panel, we have a friction fastener up top, a push pin fastener located on the top, in the rear, and in the front. And then we just have a 10mm bolt, or if you have a flathead screwdriver, you can also use that. With that bolt removed, we can pull up on these fasteners and then slide in a downward motion, releasing this panel from the bike. And I will just point out here, we have one of the posts here for the push pin fasteners and one here as well. With that removed, we will toss it to the side and repeat the steps on the opposite side. Now with the side panel removed, we can actually remove the rider seat, and you can do so by removing this 10mm bolt located towards the rear. If you do remove this bolt and the washer comes with it, it's actually a shoulder washer. Please keep that in mind. It does sit inside that rubber grommet. We're going to repeat that step on this side. And just like that, we can remove the rider seat. With the rider seat removed, we have 6 bolts located on the top that we do need to remove, 4 of which are retaining and locking in this luggage rack. So we're going to start with our 12mm socket, and we're going to remove the larger rear ones. And with those removed, we're going to set them to the side. Please note all of these bolts are different sizes and different lengths, so they do matter where they go. Next, we will switch to our 10mm socket and remove the other 4 bolts. And lastly, these forwardmost 2. Now, if you'd like, you can go ahead and remove the rack, and you would do so by loosening up this 12mm bolt on the side with the nut that is on the inside of it, and same on the opposite side. Being that I loosened these up, we can actually just lift up and swing it to the front, have it rest on the snorkel. It's not coming in contact with any of the frame components, so we should be good. And this gives us access to remove this without removing the entire luggage rack. In order to remove this, we need to slide forward. It is important to note that this silicone rubber sleeve wants, and it will, press everything forward as we're removing it. That means that these retaining clips and the washers that are located inside, let me just show you guys and give you a visual demonstration. This retaining clip and this circular pressed in washer will go flying. It's best to remove them ahead of time if you have the ability to. If not, you can leave them in. They may or may not fly out as you remove this rear tail section, but just as a warning, that is something we experienced during the removal and R&D process on this bike. Now, with all of those components removed, we can actually go ahead and slide this forward, clearing this tab and giving us access to the rear wire looms. Now, we're going to lift up on both of these ears, and you can see right here the wiring is very, very in your face and direct. For the brake lever side signal, the right side signal when sitting on the bike, we have a light blue and green wire. We're going to gently tug on those and remove them. And then for the left turn signal, you can again follow the wire, but you can see mirroring the front, we have an orange and a green wire. We're going to go ahead and remove those. Now we can go ahead and remove the turn signals from their mounts. And we will do so by grabbing a 14 millimeter open-ended wrench. And we're just going to break the nut loose and then remove it. All right. We're going to snake the wire through. And just like that, your OEM signal is now removed. And we will repeat the steps on the opposite side. Being that the camera's over here, you might get a better visual idea. We're going to snake the wire out of the way. And there is a secondary bracket, really small one right here. It's just a routing guide for the cable. You can pull the wire through that. And just like that, you are free and able to install our TST LED pod turn signals. Now, as we install these signals, it is important to note they are side specific. So when you're installing them, please make sure that the TST Industries debossing, the debossed logo on the rear is reading left to right. Before we install them, I'm going to go ahead and remove the nut that is pre-installed on it. Snake it all the way through the wires. And next, we're going to feed the signal wires through the mount. And then we are going to put the nut on. And now with it secured in place, once the nut is on, I will now go ahead and route the wires as they were from the factory around that tiny little guide that was holding the wires in place, and then into the tail section, clearing any body panels. We're going to repeat the steps on this side just to give you a better visual idea. We're going to feed the wires through. Put the nut back on and bottom it out against the signal body and the signal mount. And now we will route the wires through that routing guide, give it a little slack here, and then into the trunk compartment or the under seat compartment. Now, on our signals, yellow is power and black is ground. On most Hondas, every application we've seen, and on this bike, ground is green. So we're gonna do black to green. There we go. And yellow to blue. That is for one signal. Now that that's complete, we can slip this over, lock it in place. And for the opposite side, again, ground is green. So we'll do black to ground. And yellow to orange. Just like that, they're nice and secure. You can give them a little tug, make sure. Slip the rubber sleeve over as much as possible, and then use the routing guide or the ears, bendable ears, to secure and lock them in place. Now it is important to note that when you're reassembling this tail section, And if you watch our installation video for our fender eliminator and integrated taillight, Bart will mention this, but if these are not in the best place or they're just sticking up a little too much, you will notice that the tail section, being that there's no space underneath this really, this is fully dependent on how you configure these wire looms. So please keep that in mind. You may end up with a situation where it's slightly raised on one or the other or skewed one way or the other. That is due to the tightness back here. So just something to make note of. I know when you're doing these installs, you want things to be as clean as possible. And when they're not, sometimes there's a little bit of a disappointment. So let's just do our due diligence. Make sure I mention these things. We'll be good to go. Now we'll grab a 13mm open-ended wrench. And while holding the signal in place, we're just gonna tighten the nut down, not too much. Doesn't need to be crazy tight, but just enough to preload the rubber, create some tension. They're sitting at the same exact level. I'm very happy with the way that looks. Let's go ahead and test the signals, make sure they do flash. Perfect. So now we can begin the reassembly process. Now, one last thing to note. We've already worked on this bike and we have a separate video already filmed where you can watch it on YouTube, installing our LED flasher relay and our diode mod. If you do not install these components, you will run into an issue where your signals may not flash at all, they may stay on, they may flash quickly, all 4 signals will flash at the same time. There's a few different symptoms that can occur. We have avoided that in this installation process by already having our relay and diode mod harness installed. If you're just doing the signals front and rear and have not done a relay and the diode mod install, you will experience issues. Just please, please, please keep that in mind. But for now, let's go ahead and reassemble the bike in the reverse orientation we disassembled it and finalize this installation process. So when it comes to putting this rear tail section back on, you want to push up on this from underneath as much as possible, as it does need to slide in here. If you go to slide it in just like that, it's not going to sit or fit. But if you just apply and finesse it just a little bit, just like that, you'll notice that it slides right in with no issues. That is actually sitting perfectly flush the way we routed all the wires. So we're good to go. We do need to put these fasteners back in. So we're gonna start with the washers that get pressed in, then slip this over it. Repeat the steps on this side. When it comes to remounting and securing this luggage rack, we have found there are tolerance differences in this, and if you assemble it in a certain way, bolts may not catch. The best thing to do would be to reinstall each bolt one by hand, ensuring that you're catching the threads. And once you catch a few threads, you know you're not cross-threaded, then you can use your tool. The longer 10mm bolts go in these fasteners. And lastly, the shorter ones up front. Now that all of these bolts are installed, and we know none of them have cross-threaded, we can tighten them all down using the tool we have. We can now go ahead and reinstall the seat. Please note, we have a scoop feature here and a scoop feature here. That is what holds the seat in place. So it's best to start from the rear, push down. It's locked in, perfect. Now, before we reinstall the side panels, we do need to secure the seat. Do not forget, if these shoulder washers came out, please ensure you are reinserting them. Always start by hand, ensuring that you're not cross-threading. Once you bottom out, you can use your tool. Repeat the steps on the opposite side. And we are going to finish off this install by reinstalling this side panel. Again, this back portion interlocks in this sleeve right here. There's a little slot. When we're reinstalling this panel, we want to put it perpendicular to the bike and flex it up, ensuring that the side panels are engaging underneath the seat. And once that's in, you want to make sure that the rear slides in place, push down, and then the front comes up, push down, and then we will grab our tool. Once it's bottomed out, just give it another quarter of a turn to a half a turn. Repeat the steps on the opposite side, and this installation will be complete. And as you can see, we were able to really clean up the look on the rear of this XR150L. We were able to ditch the stock signals, which were bulky and made of a hard plastic with something slimmer, more streamlined. It has a little bit of give in case you find yourselves riding in unforgiving conditions. And most importantly, not only are they brighter, but the integrated sequential turn signal function improves visibility, making sure that riders and drivers behind you really understand which way you are turning. So if you like this product, you want to check it out, or any other product we have for the XR150L or any other bike that may be in your garage, be sure to stop by our website, tstindustries.com. The link to these turn signals can be found in the description down below. If you found this video helpful or you enjoyed it, be sure to give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, check in, let us know where you're watching from. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn the notification bell on to stay up to date with all the new and exciting videos we've got coming out. And lastly, don't forget to stop by our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all username TST Industries. For now, this has been Mark with TST Industries in the TST Garage. We will catch you next time.